Hello and welcome. Today in this video we'll have a look at variables and the complete life cycle of variables in Python. Next we'll see the different data types and the operations that we can do on them. And lastly we'll have a look at dynamic or duck typing, not this duck. So what are variables? Variables in simple terms is basically a container that is used to hold some data or value. Let's understand it with a very simple example. Let's create a new text file named as age.txt. Consider this file to be the variable age. To give a name to the variable is called as variable declaration. If you are also giving a value to the variable while declaring it, it is called as variable initialization. Now let's edit this file and put some value into it. What we have done now is we have assigned a value 40 to the variable age. This is called as variable assignment. So we can easily reassign this variable age with some other value at any point of time in our code. The last thing that we can do in the lifecycle of a variable is to delete it. It is as simple as deleting this file. This is called as variable destruction. Now this is what is followed in almost all of the programming languages, but in Python the process is even simpler. Let's see how. We'll go to our VS Code and we are going to type in a simple statement: age is equal to 20. In Python we have no concept of variable declaration or initialization. We just have to assign a value to a variable, and from that point of time the variable comes into existence. And let's now print this value into the terminal by running this file, and as we can see we have the value 20, which is what we stored in this variable. Let's print the value of the variable x and let's run the code again, and we got an error that name x is not defined. So we must assign some value to this variable x in order to define it, and that's it. And if we run the file again, we will get the result as 10, which is what is stored in the variable x. Next we will see the different data types that we can store in a variable in Python. But before proceeding further, let's talk about a concept called as Python interpreter. So Python is an interpreted language, and what does that mean? Python executes the code line by line, and this is being done using a program called as interpreter. You can think of an interpreter as a program or process that is used to run a Python code. Computers don't understand the language that we speak, they only understand zeros and ones. Hence interpreter converts the code that we have written into zeros and ones for the computer to understand. You can also interact with this program from your terminal. To do that, we'll go to our terminal and type in Python. And now you get this symbol here. That means whatever command that you will write here will now be sent to the interpreter. So let's type in the command age is equal to 20, enter, and let's print age here. Here you can also write just the variable age without writing the print function, and enter this, and now you get the result as 20. So what interpreter has done is it has read the command, evaluated it, and then printed the result. This is also called as the read evaluate print loop, or REPL. So in this manner you can easily test out some small pieces of code here right in the terminal before writing it to the Python script. The first data type that we will see today is numbers. We have already seen an example of this before. Age is equal to 20. So what we are storing here is basically a number into the variable age. Let's talk about the operations that we can do with this data type. As it is a number, we can do all sorts of arithmetic operations on this, and the operators that we will use now are called as the arithmetic operators. For example, you can add some value to the variable age, but hold on for a second. We have just printed age plus 5. We have not reassigned age plus 5 back to the variable age. The value of the age variable will still be 20 and not 25. If you print in age, it will show as 20. What we need to do in order to reassign the variable age with the added value is we have to write age is equal to age plus 5, and let's print in the variable age, and now it will show that it's 25. We can also subtract the value and we can multiply this by some number. Another operation that we can do here is to divide it by some number, say 2, and we are going to use a forward slash here. Okay, what we got here is a fractional number. It's not an integer. This type of division with a single forward slash is called as the float division. Why? Because the number that we got here is a fractional number, also called as floating point number or float. Basically, we can either have integers or floats, which are the most commonly used numeric data types. We also have another type of operation here with 2 forward slashes, and you see here we only got the integer part 12 instead of 12.5. This type of division is also called as integer division. And the sixth and the last operation that we can do is called as the modulus operation. Modulus basically gives us the remainder that we can get after dividing age by 2. So if we divide age by 2, we will get the remainder as 1. Okay, let's move on to the next data type called as strings, or basically text. Let's have a variable name with the value xyz. So in order to declare strings, you must use either single quotes or double quotes. So let's type in the value of the variable name and we get xyz here with the quotes. You can also type in the same thing with double quotes, and if you print it again, you will see that both representations are same. We also have many operations that we can do on string data type. We can multiply this by some number. So if we multiply name by 2, we will get xyz twice. If we multiply it by 3, we will get xyz thrice, which is a single string. The other operations that you can do here is to concatenate two strings. For that you can use the plus operator. So let's concatenate name with the string abc and enter. You see we got here xyz abc. We have many more operations on strings and we will have a separate video talking about this. The last data type that we will discuss today is called as boolean. Boolean is basically true or false value. Let's take the example of a simple sign-up form. You have a checkbox there, right? So if you tick the checkbox, the value is set as true. If you uncheck it, the value is set as false. You can think of a boolean variable in the similar manner. Okay, let's take an example. Let's imagine that we have a red ball and we will store this information in a variable is red ball and set it as true. For boolean values, you need to capitalize the first letter, that is true with a capital T and false with a capital F. Let's print this value and check we have the value true. Let's have another variable is yellow ball and set it as false. Now we will do some kind of operations on these two variables. Let's ask the question if we have the red ball and the yellow ball. And we can write this in code by using the AND operator. And once we print it, we will get the result false because we have the red ball but we don't have the yellow ball. Okay, so let's ask another question. Do we have either the red ball or the yellow ball? The answer is true, right? And we can represent this with the OR operator. Now let's ask a third question. Is it true that we don't have a yellow ball? The answer is true, right? Because we don't have a yellow ball. I'll write this as not is yellow ball. And when I print it, I'll get the result true. NOT operator basically reverses the expression. The three operators that we discussed just now are called as illogical operators. We have some rules of writing the Python variables that we must follow. A variable name must start with a letter or an underscore character, but it cannot start with a number. And also it must contain only alphanumeric characters and underscores. And also remember that variable names are case sensitive. Say we have the variable age with some value, and if you try to print in the value of the variable age with the capital A, then this will give an error because this age is not same as the age with all lower cap letters. And the last rule, which is very important, is we must not use any reserved word for a variable name. That means we cannot have something like is equal to 50. This is a keyword that has been defined in the source code of Python. So you cannot use such type of keywords as your variable names. The last and the most important concept in Python that we will discuss today is called as the dynamic or duck typing. Duck typing can be easily summarized from the code. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it must be a duck. What I mean by this is, in Python we don't use any kind of data type in order to define variables. For example, take the case of variable age. We just wrote age is equal to 30. We didn't mention that this is an integer, which we normally do in other languages but not in Python. How will Python know what kind of variable age is? It sees what value we have written and assigned to the variable, and from that it infers the data type of the variable. So if we wrote age is equal to 30, Python will infer that age is a number. But if in the next line we wrote something like age is equal to xyz, then Python will infer that this is a string instead, which is not what we expected. We wanted age to be a number. So we must carefully assign values to the variable in Python. Otherwise, we can have many unexpected errors due to this concept of duck typing. So that's it for today's video. If you have any questions, any feedback, you can type in the comments box below and I'll be sure to reply. For more such videos, you can subscribe to my channel. So until next time, happy coding!